It's been so exciting to have the Brazilian ex-Formula One driver in the field. Rubens Barrichello, there he is on that second row. We're getting set for 25 laps. The debut of the S5000 category. Richard Craill is alongside me. The hype about this guy has been huge during the week, and he really has soaked up some of Melbourne's greatest sights, hasn't he?
G'day, Matty. Good to be here. Exciting time in Australian motor racing, and to have Rubens Barrichello on the grid. Second generation Barrichello coming through. His son Eduardo is racing in the States this year in S5000. So Rubens has been bouncing back and forward between the Stock Car Brazil series, which is a crazy sort of touring car category, their domestic formula. But it's so cool to have him here. There are people rocking up with Adelaide Grand Prix merchandise from 1995 when he was driving for Jordan, looking out for his autograph that he signed 30 years ago, just about, that are rocking up here to meet the great Brazilian driver. He's been a fantastic ambassador for the inaugural round of S5000.
And it's the same helmet that he's had since that very first race in 1993. 19 years unbroken. He holds the record for the most Formula One starts. It was held by the great Riccardo Patrese for nearly 16 years. And now he joins us for the first ever round of S5000. But hey, there's 12 other drivers out in the field we've got to talk about during this race. John Martin just stepping out of Car Sales TCR Australia. He'll start on the front row with Tim Macro. You've got Alex Davison. You've got Matt Brabham in the field. You've got Barton Moyer. So many experienced guys in this field.
And John Martin, as good a chance as anyone to win this motor race. Matt Brabham touched on him. He had an off in the qualifying race earlier today, but he is fast and he'll be working his way through. And then the 35-year-old Victorian Tim Macro, first and second in the two qualifying races that generated the grid for this, second in qualifying earlier in the weekend. He starts from pole, hugely experienced guy, relative to some of the names in the field, perhaps underrated, but he's shown what he's capable of. That's what this category's already done in two short races. Now we've got 25 laps to demonstrate that. And we're just on board that bright blue car from Eggleston Motorsport, Will Brown. He's just wrapped up the TCR Australia Championship. Complete change of mindset now to jump into the open wheeler and go racing in S5000. But if anyone can jump between different kinds of cars, it's Will Brown. He will drive anything with four wheels.
Absolutely. And it's so good to see him wrap up that series. Just a few moments ago here in Car Sales TCR Australia, James Golding out in this one as well. Picked up the win earlier today. He was the last driver to be announced for this weekend's maiden event. He'll start out of position number 3. Matt Brabham will start from 10. Michael Gibson down the field from position number 12. But as these cars set off on their second rolling lap, let's go for a flying lap around this 3.1 kilometre course with Rubens Barrichello.
So 560 horsepower, just a tad over 900 kilos. They're almost 5 metres long. They're as big as an Indy car. These are proper big wings and slicks race car, but they can follow closely. They produce great performance, and already we've seen the lap record, the outright lap record at Sandown go on 2 occasions. Here's how they line up. Tim Macro and John Martin on the front row of the grid. James Golding and Rubens Barrichello from the second. Alex Davison's been really good. He's 5th alongside Will Brown. Bart Moore, the experienced Sydney-sider, from 7th alongside Tim Berryman. Ricky Capo, young Victorian, from 9th. Matty Brabham from 10th. Got some work to do. Has a very, very fast race car. The young Kiwi Taylor Cockenden goes from 11th for MTech Motorsport. Michael Gibson in the ACM Finance car, and Tom Alexander, another Kiwi, off the back. 13 cars on the grid. But the one thing every driver has been saying is, A, these cars are awesome. B, they're really difficult and challenging propositions to hustle around Sandown Raceway. And that's what we love. 2 qualifying races in have been spectacular. We've seen overtaking and wheel-to-wheel racing and lap records. 25 laps away. for the feature race here at Sandown.
So settle in. This is history about to be created. There's fans that have been here for years. There's fans that are curious about it. And the lights are about to go out for the first time. The feature race is underway here at Sandown. Not a great start from the front row, but Rubens Barrichello made a great start. Same too for Jimmy Golding, like he did earlier today in the qualifying heat race. He'll move up into second. Barrichello will move into third place. Martin drops back in behind. We're side by side with Will Brown and Alex Davison, and everybody survives the first corner here.
Poleman was away nicely. Very good launch for Tim Macro. A little bit of wheel spin, but it hooked up in the second phase of the start. Golding away smartly. His start earlier today was impressive. Having said that, Macro went from 10th to 3rd off the start in the qualifier earlier on today. So the three-time Australian F3 champion leads him up the hill for the first time. Golding second, Barrichello to third. We heard him before touch on that little issue he had in the qualifying race that cost him straight line speed. Come back to that because Will Brown's going around the outside of Alex Davison at turn 6 and over the curb. Somehow gathers it up before Dandenong Road. This kid can drive. That is enormous. Great bit of car control and he holds on to it.
Barrichello locks up hard in the right-hand corner here into the final turn. You can see Davison reading the play. I'm going to give in here. And all of a sudden, the number 38 Eccleston Motorsport car was diving down the inside. He sits in 5th position as they thunder down this main straight at Sandown to start lap 2 at 25. Macro, Golding and Barrichello. Off the track is Ricky Capo, and damage to that car. Looks like his day is done.
Golding slow out of turn 1 and under searing pressure from the bright red pace 111 of 11-time Grand Prix winner Rubens Barrichello. John Martin from the front row of the grid back to 4th. That'll be frustrating. And it looks like that car's very much stuck in the mud. A lot of rain here yesterday.
Great photo opportunity though.
Correct. So it's stuck offline. Gives you an idea of the underbody on that car. That's a shame for Ricky Martin looking down the inside. And we're going to go yellow. The ANCAP safety car will be on the racetrack. And Tim Macro will be the most frustrated man in the planet because he's worked hard for 1.6 seconds. And these cars have proven very difficult to drive early in races on cold tyres. And that's where races can be won or lost. And all of that hard work just vanishes in an instant.
And for the first time, we get the ANCAP safety car. We didn't get any in the qualifying races earlier in the weekend. So Macro, Golding, Barrichello, Martin, that's the top 4. Will Brown with that wild move at turn 6 is in 5th position. Matt Brabham from 10th is up to 6th now. Barton Moore next, Berryman, Davison, Taylor Cockerton. That's how it looks. It's round to the ANCAP safety car in the feature race, the first ever race of S5000 here at Sandown.
Matty Brab swacked the wall quite hard in the qualifying race earlier today down at Dandenong Road. The sum total of the damage was a broken wishbone, bent wishbone. That's it. These things are tough. Another look at the start, the Actron Air replay. Good launch from Macro. Didn't need to cover his line too much. He was already on the defensive line on the run to turn 1. Golding swept across the circuit to try and get better momentum through turn 1. Good start from him. Martin was slow away and gobbled up by Barrichello. Needs no second invitation. That was cool though. The thunder as they erupted down towards turn 1 was something else. Here's Will Brown, the rolling highlights reel. Around the outside of Alex Davison, trying to get past there. Didn't do so. But got quite a good run out of turn 4. That critical right-hander, it looked such an anonymous corner, but it's so vital because it sets your run all the way up the back, and that's what he did. He got a good drive, and they've shown already that these cars can follow very, very closely, Matt. And sometimes Wings and Slicks cars don't. Now this is about to be an enormously committed bit of race car driving. Big toe, the aerodynamic effect draws him alongside, and by the point he commits, he just goes hard around the outside. More curb than he wanted to use, and on the rack stops in opposite lock, trying to get the thing slowed and stopped without spearing into the barriers. That's an amazing bit of car control. The car already wants to swap ends in its own right. That's huge.
Replay from Barrichello. Great start here from car 111. The Pace 25th anniversary Formula 1 Grand Prix sponsored car this weekend. He got up to 3rd position. Could very well have been the front before turn number 1 here, but nonetheless a great start from the Brazilian as he moves back into 3rd spot here. Go back to that replay between Brown and Davison. He got the edge of that international circuit, which hasn't been used for years and years and years, and he very well could have been in the fence on the right-hand side. Incredible.
And to give you some context in how hard these cars are to drive, and now Ricky Capo's got broken left rear corner in that car and damage on the front. Yet to unpick as to what actually caused that contact, but definitely broken suspension and that car sitting down. That's why it's stuck in the mud. To give you some context in how difficult they are at times, and it's awesome, by the way, they're getting wheel spin through third and fourth gear. So they've got so much grunt, not a lot of grip. They are working very, very hard. Jack Perkins?
Yeah, guys, down in pit lane here with Brett Francis, who's the engineer on the radio to Will Brown. Hey, going around the outside down there at Sandown's a pretty brave move, isn't it?
Not something we discussed in our briefing beforehand, that's for sure, but Will is Will, and that's how he races.
It's unbelievable, isn't it? He just won the TCR Championship, and to come out there and pass Alex Davison, one of the fastest corners in the track. He's doing well for his first weekend in this S5000.
Yeah, it is. We're still doing a lot of learning on the car, and Will's learning how to drive it, so we've made a couple of changes for this race, and hopefully it'll work in his favour.
Has he said anything on the radio after that?
Nope. Doesn't talk a whole lot.
He laughed about after the first time he drove the car at Phillip Island that he might have needed to come in for a pair of underpants, so maybe it's a similar situation there now.
Yeah, I think we've just gone through our quota for the year, so yeah, that's probably about it actually. That'll be the next pit stop, clean undies.
All the best next one.
Cheers, thank you.
I just checked in with the team at Gary Rogers Motorsport in regards to Ricky Capo's car, and it was felt that there was a car that braked a little earlier than he expected in front of him, and it was a case of a concertina, and hence why he's off the road. So that's why the safety car's out here at the moment. GRM, on one respect, have Capo off the road, but they have James Golding right in the game. He's been really competitive. He's working with his supercars engineer, Manuel Sanchez, this weekend, so they're keeping their connection going from supercars to open wheelers and S5000s today at Sandown.
How about some of the company you've got down there, Noons? Alan Moffat to your right-hand side. The great Bill Gibson from Gibson Freight also down there taking in the sights here of S5000 as we're still on the ANCAP safety car. Macro, Golding and Barrichello still the top three in this race. A long way still to go. 22 laps as Ricky Capo's car goes back onto the tilt tray. Let's take a look at the start once again. Krause from John Martin's perspective.
So a little bit busy for John. Just have a listen. Yeah, wheel spin for the vastly experienced New South Wales Welshman who's raced at the very high levels of international open wheel competition before switching his attention to sports cars and GT and touring car racing. So just drop back into fourth place in the thick of the action. That's Rubens Barrichello in front. Macro and Golding, of course, leading the way through. Look at the wheel work, the finesse required. Big understeer there, the car not wanting to turn in. So just applied more lock. Good power down out of turn 4 though. But Barrichello getting a little bit of an assist from James Golding, who was a little bit further up in front. So Macro, Golding and Barrichello under the ANCAP safety car.
We'll continue for another lap right now. Well, Matt Brabham was in the box seat earlier today to win the qualifying race. He's done us proud for many, many years. He raced at the 100th Indianapolis 500 for Pertec Team Murray. Let's learn more about the man based in the United States.
Matt Brabham, how old are you?
I'm 25.
Where do you live?
Indianapolis in the US.
Career highlight?
Being in the Indy 500.
Who do you most want to beat in this field?
Everyone. There's no particular one I'm looking at. I want to beat all of them.
Any superstitions?
No.
Favourite food?
At the moment, it's a good old-fashioned English breakfast.
What would you do if you weren't a race car driver?
A race engineer.
Who is your racing hero?
Valentino Rossi.
If you could travel to anywhere after this race day today, where would you go?
Home. Back home. I really miss it. Yeah, I've been on the road for a long time.
In fact, he jets out tonight back to Indianapolis, Indiana. There's Matt Brabham leading the Stadium Super Truck Series as well, but for now he runs in 7th position. So we ride with Will Brown back to the restart here with 20 laps remaining. The first feature race of S5000 here today at Sandown Raceway.
Macro judged it well, but Golding went with him. Davison on the defensive from that man Brabham. We just heard from him. Big lock up. Macro struggled to get it stopped. He's gone. He's thrown it away from the race lead. Buried in the sand trap at turn 1. And off goes Barton Moore as well. His old F3 rivals joined him. Tim Macro's out of the race. Day done, going nowhere.
Two experienced guys caught out on the restart, and it puts Golding to the lead and will more than likely bring out the ANCAP safety car once again. The car was coming in hot, and the Boylan Group entry spins off into the very deep gravel traps here. A rare mistake from Macro.
It'll just need a flat toe out and then a vacuum to get rid of all the gravel. So we're under the safety car for the second time. He was under some pressure. The initial launch from the restart was very, very good, but James Golding went with him, so it wasn't going to be an overtake at turn 1, but Macro was feeling the pressure a little bit, then just grabbed the brake, down into turn 1, locked the tyres, the car just pivoted around.
This puts Golding into the lead. And if he looks at his rear view mirror, he's going to see Rubens Barrichello sitting there right now. The man from Warragul here in Victoria. What a desperate shame it is for Macro. Here's the replay. We've never had a restart here, so with their Pioneers heading down to turn number 1, comes in, locks up the front right, and it's down the escape road and what would have been the old main straight back in the days, and parks it in the gravel, and then Barton Moore follows suit.
It's caught out on the bumps, perhaps, to lock that right front, which is the loaded side of the car, because you're turning left, so all the weight transfers over to the right-hand side. And just fired it off. He's stuck in the gravel trap. It's been such a spectacular weekend for this 35-year-old Victorian who's got a hugely decorated open-wheel career. The car stuck in. They'll get it flat-towed out, so hopefully this won't be a long safety car. And your point about Rubens Barrichello is absolutely fantastic, because this is not a token visit. He wants to win as much as anybody in the field, if not even more,
100%.
to prove himself. Jack?
Here, guys, down in pit lane, there's lots of interested onlookers here this weekend, and I've come across Ken Smith, who's a former 5000 legend from New Zealand, 3-time New Zealand Grand Prix winner, and here this weekend supporting S5000 Tom Alexander. What are your first impressions of the S5000?
They're very good. Now, with a couple of races under their belt, they're going to have those things going so quick and so good. They're a magic car, and it suits a lot of drivers, different drivers. So I think Australia's picked the right formula at last.
Now, it brings back a lot of memories of the Trans-Tasman rivalry, F5000. Do you think this will kick off in New Zealand as well?
Well, it'd be nice to think that we can have Tasman races over there as well, yeah. I know we've got TRS there, but we need to make sure these cars come to New Zealand as well and get some Kiwis in them.
Now, I heard a rumour you brought your helmet this weekend, Ken. Were you likely to jump in?
I always bring my helmet, but unfortunately the 14th car isn't here. Otherwise, yes, I would have talked myself into getting into that.
It's great to have you and great to see you here.
No, great to be around. Thanks, Jack.
I just checked in at MTech Motorsport with Barry Jones, engineer for Team Macro, and I asked, has he said anything on the radio? He said no. That says it all.
And what a shame. That car will go a couple of laps down there. How good to have Ken Smith. I knew he'd be here somewhere. He's, of course, helping out Tom Alexander, 5-time New Zealand Gold Star champion. He's in his 60th year of racing at age 78 is Ken Smith, and he still races like a teenager.
He's a terrific representative of New Zealand motor racing, one of the all-time greats of the sport, and still racing, still drives his historic Formula 5000 race car over there and in all parts of the world, and working very hard on bringing young Kiwi drivers forward. Young Liam Lawson, who's racing in FIA Formula 3 this year, is a protege of Kenny Smith. So many young drivers, the list is too long to rattle through before we go back to green. Yep, yes. Exactly right.
We need another 2 laps under safety car.
I'd love to see him in a car. And he would drive one of these things very, very well, right up his alley.
Don't rule it out. Of course, Tom Alexander has driven his blue Lola T32 over in New Zealand on several occasions as Ricky Capo's car comes back into the pits. And race control confirming we are heading back to a restart very, very soon here at Sandown Raceway. Hope you're enjoying the action of the very first S5000 race. It's lights out here at Sandown and we're ready to go racing. The AMCAP safety car is heading towards the lane. Big moment coming up here for James Golding. Rubens Barrichello second, John Martin third, Will Brown is fourth, Alex Davison fifth.
Drivers to watch for mine. Barrichello, of course. This is his prime opportunity to grab the race lead. But watch for spectacular things from Will Brown. We saw what he did on cold tyres on the opening lap. What's he going to do on a restart? Check out the bright blue Eggleston Motorsport car that's running in 4th position at the moment, tucked up behind John Martin, who currently holds the outright Sandown lap record. Alex Davison and Matt Brabham just in behind. Some famous surnames in a very, very cool field of race cars. Away we go. Some struggling for grip and traction behind, but it's a really nice restart for Golding. Leads the field to green. Here's the rush to turn 1. 250 Ks on approach. Does Barrichello have a look? Not yet. Do they all get through? Yes, they do. Good stuff. Nice and clean. It's Golding in front by a car length.
Michael Gibson runs a bit wide at the back there in car number 11, the Apex Racing prepared entry, but it's tightly compressed at the front. Golding, Barrichello coming out of turn number 3 and head down the famous back straight here. at Sandown Raceway. Long way to play out in this race. As down we go. Big incident. That's enormous on the back straight. And that's Davison. Huge impact. The Astron Tech number 8 goes in hard on the left-hand side.
Oh, that's an enormous impact. At very high speed on the run-up through turn 4. The ANCAP safety car will return. And the field will be brought under the control of the Hyundai safety car. Golding in front of Barrichello and Martin.
We'll pause for a replay on what happened with car number 8, because that was hit big going down the back straight. He was around the group with Brabham, Brown.
These cars, Matt, built to 2018 Formula One safety standards. They are as safe as an open wheel race car can be. Full carbon fibre monocoque, and that's terrific news that Alex Davison's out of the car. Well, there's proof positive that these things are ultra safe, because that was an enormous accident, and Davison clambering out under his own steam. Medical teams getting to him now. Armco did a lot of work there, absorbed a lot of the impact as well. So they're a full multi-layer carbon fibre safety cell. It's used in regional Formula 3, FIA Formula 3 around the world. The Halo device is there, and implemented a couple of years ago after Billy Munger's crash at Donington in Formula 4. It's an inch-thick carbon plate at the front of the tub as well, which takes an enormous amount of strength into that front bulkhead. So let's have a look, middle of the screen, about to turn into the kink. And unfortunately, it looks like we might miss the start of it. So he was tucked up behind Matt Brabham, and the car's just fired across to the left-hand side of the road and drilled into that Armco barrier. And good evasive action behind. Bart Moore checked up, trying to get out of the way of Tyler Alexander in the 22, Tom Alexander in the 22 for AGI Sport.
And the guardrail doing what it's designed to do. But he stepped out of the car and can't operate the Astron Tech entry on the right-hand side. And like you said, testament to the design of these cars, these French design on Rogue Ligiers on their debut here this weekend. So for the third time, safety car comes out here in this race, trying to find some momentum in F1, but a big crash for Alex Davison bringing his car out. Spoke to him earlier today, so I'm still trying to get my head around getting back into an open wheeler. It's been 2 decades since he drove an open wheeler. He's never driven one like this.
No, nothing with this amount of horsepower and nothing with this amount of aero, even though it is limited in these cars. His last open wheel race was the Formula Ford Festival at Brands Hatch in 1999. So you do the maths on how many decades ago that was. Terrific to see him out of the car, put his driver standards advisor hat on and find out what went wrong with his own motor race there. Massive shame. And shame for the motor race. 2 qualifying races were clean. They were fast. Yep. Lots of great wheel-to-wheel racing. But it's come to the feature, and it's been a wild one. And there's Tim Macro in pit lane. Won the first ever race in the category. Started on pole in this one. And champion racer sitting in pit lane, and his day done as well.
This was the original car that was developed, ran in Valvoline colours, and then refitted to the specs to run this very first round here this weekend. His race is done, back in the pits. As the safety car continues around here, the S5000s.
Just debriefing with engineer Barry Jones down there in pit lane. The M-Tech Motorsport squad. Team Australian owned, but based out of New Zealand most of the time, running in the Toyota Racing Series Wings and Slicks category over there, junior formula. Very, very cool class and very experienced race team. They had success in Formula Ford, and in a previous guys, they won the Australian Formula Ford Championship with Jack LeBrock. So the field behind the safety car. The big concern for mine now is the damage to the Armco on the exit of turn 5, the kink, the run up the back stretch. And that's going to take some time to repair, and there are time certainties involved in every race meeting. We'll go back down to the lane with more from Jack Perkins.
Yeah, guys, down here with Tim Macro. You've retired the car. That was all a bit of a shame for you there, mate.
Yeah, a little bit. Like, we came down into turn 1 there, and you know, I think everything felt pretty fine, and then all of a sudden I just slid off the track. So I'm not sure if I hit something down there or oil or whatever, or just locked a brake. We'll just have to have a look. But to me, it sort of felt pretty strange. So we'll see.
Taking the positives out of it, it's been a pretty good weekend. Obviously, you've enjoyed driving these cars. You've been very competitive. You must be pretty pleased on the whole.
Absolutely. On the whole, the team have done a great job, and we've had a really good start to this category, and that's unfortunate, obviously, what's happened there. But as a whole, the category's done a great job, and it's going to be bigger and better.
Will we see you at Tail and Bend?
I hope so.
Good stuff, mate.
Thanks, mate.
So many laps in this category, developing these S5000 cars.
I've got Chris with me, mate.
And now the safety car will lead us around. We're going to finish behind the back of the ANCAP safety car here. The checkered flag is now out to wave, and James Golding will pick up the win in race number 1. A shortened race here today, but we promise you folks this category is going to boom. Golding, Barrichello and John Martin. Let's go back down to the pits.
Well, Matt here in pit lane with category manager Chris Lambden. I know that's not the way that we'd like to end its S5000's inaugural weekend, but let's take all the positives. Plenty of people here, great racing, a lot of interest. You must be a really proud man this weekend.
Oh, actually, I am. You know, this is, as you say, this is an unfortunate ending, but the upside to it is Alex is out of the car, and the car did its job, and he's fine. It's a shame that the race has ended that way. But yeah, look, up until this point, this weekend's been fantastic. There's a massive crowd here. And they're all going on saying how good it is. So I guess that's the key thing. And yeah, I'm really proud of everyone who's been involved in getting this to this point, everybody. And including, one guy can't be here today, that's Brian up in Sydney. Hope you're feeling better. You know, this is an unfortunate ending to a race, but it happens. But he's okay, and that's the main thing.
2 months' time, the Bend Motorsport Park. Will we have some more S5000 cars ready to rumble for that one?
I don't know if there'll be any more. There's a couple to repair, but you know, it's onwards upwards from here. The plans that are in the wind for next year, and it's starting at the Grand Prix, mean I'm pretty sure there'll be more cars next year. And amongst the lot, I'm really hoping we can get Rubens back. I think he's just been fantastic this week. What a fantastic guy and a massive contributor to this race.
We'd love to have him back. Congratulations, well done. You had a dream a few years ago, and you and a lot of people have made it a reality. Congrats.
Yeah, thanks. No, it's a fantastic example of Australian motorsport engineering and ingenuity and drive and determination. And yep, here we are.
Well done.
Thanks.
Chris Lambden, he's a guy that's given a lot of young people in the media their start in Australian motor racing, and now doing it for a racing category. And this thing will have legs, folks. This is unfortunately why the race ended early. And Matt Brabham up behind Alex Davis, and I wonder if there was contact there. They'll have a look at it after the race. Don't want to make any judgments too soon as to how that happened. But the best outcome of everything is that Alex is A-OK. He climbed out of the car under his own power, and he has walked away from a big crash in the opening round of S5000.
Cars heading back into the pits. Race comes to an end on lap number 11. There's plenty more still to come. Stick around. More after the break.